What's up, YouTube? It's your girl Paige Turner, and I'm back with another freaking hair tutorial. So today we're finna get straight into this sew-in install for y'all who need to learn how to do a sew-in at home because these prices keep coming up, and you wanna be able to do it yourself. So here you see me pointing out the colors that I'm going to use to color correct my lace to fit my skin color. Most people go in with liquid foundation, but I didn't have any. I just ran out recently, so I'm going in just blending some eyeshadow shades to find the corrective shade that kind of look like my skin, and I'm gonna lightly dust it on my lace. So here I found one match, it didn't work, way too dark. I'm doing another one next to it because I know that one's too dark, so I want to be able to match it correctly, and that one does work for me, as you see. So I'm gonna go ahead first testing it on my forehead because that's where the lace is going to lay, that's where it needs to blend, that's where it's gonna look like gold, baby. Okay, gold. And we're not doing no cap on this, it's just straight on my head, so it definitely has to match. Now, I'm going in with a cotton ball, just something that I had because I ran out of brushes too. I'm going in with a cotton ball, and I'm just dusting the powder on my lace here thoroughly, making sure that I'm getting mostly the front, focusing on the front, and making sure I'm going through the middle where my part is. And I'm just going to dust until I feel like I got a good match and it works really well with me. Once we have it to the color we want it to do, we're going to head and place it on our head. I do have a band around my closure because I want this to be glueless. You don't necessarily need it if you don't want it, but it's very easy. It comes at the beauty supply, baby. You just sew it to one side, sew it to the other side, and make sure that you're taking the circumference of your head. When I put mine on, I did mess up, and that's why it has a tie in the back, but that's okay, baby. You cut it down, make it smaller, and tie it to your head size so that it's not too big, too small. It give you a little wiggle room to work with, and it also holds that closure in place when you're trying to sew it down. All right, so I'm just going to bring that band to the front of my first braid. I want it to lay directly on the first braid. That way, when I'm installing my sewing, you won't be able to see it. Now, you're going to take your curved needle. Yes, a curved needle works way better than a straight one. Please don't use a straight one. You're going to be poking, pricking, doing everything in your finger. And I promise you, it ain't worth it. It's not worth it. All right, so we're about to get straight into the real nitty gritty part, the most important part. So going into this, before you can sew your hair, you got to get the thread and the needle together. You got to get it working as a unit. So you don't want to go that long like I did, because if you're not used to doing sewing and all of that, sewing your hair, it's going to mess you up, and that needle is going to get threaded and knotted a lot. So a good idea of how long you want your thread is half of your arm. Now I'm wrapping my thread around my needle 4 times. The 4th is for luck, but you can do it 3 times, and then pulling the knot all the way down to the bottom of the thread. Now I'm going to go into it, looking at my closure, making sure my closure is in the exact place I want it to be. Because if you pull too hard, you pull too soft, that closure is going to move. So this is one of the most important parts. All right, so when I'm threading my closure, I like to go first into my first braid, the very first braid on the side of my head, just so that the knot has nothing to do with the actual lace of the closure, because who wants a knotty closure? And then I go on the very end of the lace, pulling it to my desired, like doop, and then I go to halfway through the first braid, and I start at the top and pull my needle downward. This is because I cannot see, and so this method helps a lot when you can't see exactly what you're doing. And the rule that I like to go by is I pull downward, and then I put my finger where I last put the knot at. I put one finger over and then you're going to sew again. So put the finger down, measure it out, go one finger over and sew it again. So right now, to get my hair out of my way, now that I made the first knot and I have the closure actually with some thread in it, I am going to go ahead and tie up this hair in a little braid, little cute little thing, just to keep it out the way while I'm sewing the rest, because you don't want to be sewing hair while you're trying to sew lace. I promise you it's not fun. You're going to have to cut the thread, start all over, it ain't worth it, okay? So now I'm braiding all the way down, just braiding, and then I am going to start the sewing of the actual closure around. Now, I like to go in the shape that the closure goes. I don't like to start on one side and then skip to the other side, just because I feel like it can create a little bit of mess. So you're just going to pull your closure down, fill out with your hands again, do the one finger over method as you see me doing here. Go in and then pull downward on your lace and pull the thread all the way through. And that's you're gonna start getting some structure with your lace. So don't worry, it's gonna become easier the more you thread and go in a circle. So same thing here, pull down, go through just like I did there, and pull through. Do the finger method and start all over again. Now that you have it all sewed down, you want to finish off your thread. So I like to go in as if I'm finna sew again, and then loop my needle to make a hole. Pull it tight as it's comfortable for you, boo. I can't measure that. And then I cut the thread, and then I tie a knot, almost like I'm tying a shoe. And I just separate the two pieces and just tie like I'm tying my shoestring, this, that, and the third. And you just I like to make 2 knots for safety, because I like my sew-ins super secure. But you can make 1 knot, 2 knot, however you please. Please don't worry about the takedown. The takedown is going to be easy even in doing this process of making the knots. And yeah, now that we got Miss Closure together, we finna get into these bundles and start sewing this on our head, so we're not sitting here all day and forever doing the same thing. Now, first you want to detangle your bundles. If you're using old ones, if you're using new ones, baby, wash them before you put them in your head. I promise you, wash them. That's all I'm gonna say. And then you're going to pull the track that you want to start working with. And make sure you're just detangling, stretching it out, brush through a few times. Make sure you get that hair straight, because it's going to help you so much more in a long time. Okay, so all the lights in my house just randomly went out, so we have to reshoot this in a different angle. So we're going to start, you're going to hold the track in place, and then take the needle through the top of the track and follow through just like the closure. Just the same method as the closure, but different. I had already sewn a piece down, so this is my flip method, where I'm going in and I'm going to flip the track over the last track and go back and sew with the braid. And so as you see here, using the same method with my hands, making sure I'm getting the thread in the right places and sewing it accordingly. Because again, you're doing this to yourself, boo. You ain't got no help. You can't see. So you got to do what it do. And you got to make it do what it want to do. All right? But you want to look good in the end with a T at the end. Okay? You want to look good. Okay? So you want to turn to the back and do the same thing. Now, the back is when you get a little worried. Wash them fingers, baby, because you can't poke yourself. But go through the bottom and sew. And then go through the bottom again and pull upward through your braid and sew. And so you're going to try to stay on the ends of the braids as much as possible, because you don't want to mess up the line you created when you first started sewing. So as you see here, I know that I'm starting at the ends of my braid. So I'm trying to track my fingers and making sure that I'm staying in that placement and not going too high or too short, because that can result in your hair looking thin or not not full, and we want full heads over here so it could be blowing in the wind like it's attached to our scalp. Okay, so make sure you're doing that accordingly. And once you get your rhythm with this, which you will, you just continue on the same method. Do the finger, make sure you're checking the width between sewing. You can, if it's better for you to sew downward in this method that I'm doing here to make sure that you're going through the track, you can go downward or upward. Just make sure you're going through the black band, not picking up any hair, and going through your braid and pulling as tight as your like comfort zone. So it doesn't have to be super tight. If you don't like it being super tight, don't pull that tight. Just make sure that you're getting it on there where it's sturdy enough, and you know, somebody can come pull your head and it's not going off, or sis is not moving, she's staying on your head. That's the most important thing. So here's a zoomed in version. You see there, and you're just going to continue going around your head. I promise you, it looks harder than it actually is.
Can I tell you something for what it's worth? If you have it, that's on
And we back at the end. Yes, honey. Fully sewed in. Get into it. Yes. Vibes. All right. So we're just going to straighten up our closure because we're about to fix this baby. She is looking a little bald. We don't want that. We don't need that in our lives. This is how it looks underneath. Usually I just do my edges just in case the wind is blowing to cover up that area so it doesn't look like it was abandoned. And now I'm going in with a hot comb to make sure that I'm fully flattening out the top of my head because we want it on flat. We don't want our heads looking like Humpty Dumpty little sister. And so we're fully hot combing that out all the way through, making sure our closure is where we want it to be. And I'm about to show y'all how to fix this little balding spot. You might not have it on yours, but I got it on mine because sis is old. She was coming out of the closet out of a bag that I honestly forgot about to be installed today. Okay, so I'm parting where I want my part to go and making sure it's exactly where I want it to be. I'm going to take a little Q-tip and then I'm going to dip it into my eyeshadow that matches the most to the specific color of my hair there. I'm just going, get it in there, get it nitty gritty, get as much product as you can. I did mix a little bit to see if it would be better, and then I realized later on that the one color was fine, and then I'm just going to go in on the edges where I'm kind of seeing a little bit of balding to blend it in, because who's going to know? They're never going to know unless I tell them, and I'm not going to tell them, so don't you tell on me. And then I'm going to keep using this eyeshadow, and you're just getting rid of those bald spots so it looks more like a, part and less like alopecia. And yeah, we're going to do that all the way until we get a neat, cute little look.
Turn me inside out, make my heart beat. Leave no one else, you're all I need. Personality, everything you do, it's me love, everything about you. Your smile, your style, so fly. Can't deny, I got a crush on you, that's truly. I'm digging you, you make me believe.
All right, but once you get that done and it's looking more like a part and less like you missing hair, you're just going to go ahead and go in with your hot comb, test the heat. This is how I test the heat. I do not touch it. I put my hand close enough to see if there is heat coming off the hot comb. And when there is, I go through a few passes on the top of my hair just to make sure that it's flat, fat, and everything is going down straight and put together, making sure I'm liking the way that it's looking. This hair is layered, so you do see as in the front, a few pieces of my hair is shorter and it goes down to get longer. So I'm making sure that is being shown accordingly, and mostly just focusing on the top of my head, making sure it's flat as I possibly can get it. And this is my hair fully done, wound up with a lazy wild girl curl. And yeah, so if you like this style and you like this video, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and make sure you hit that bell so when I post a video, you can tell. Make sure you hit that bell. Make sure you hit that bell. All right, y'all. See you in the next video.
Take it, take it.